One of my favorite shots is my backhand. I really enjoy hitting a ground stroke, whether that be a drive, topspin, or slice, or resets, or dinking. But that wasn't always so, and I really had to work quite hard on my backhand, as most people do when they build up any stroke that they end up really loving. You have to put some time and effort into it in order to develop the skill to hit it the way you want from really all positions on the court. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because a lot of people tend to avoid their backhand. I understand why that is. To lead with the shot with the back of your hand is not as comfortable or maybe as easy or natural as leading with your palm. So today we're going to cover how to improve many of the strokes on your backhand side using just a wall. There's really a lot you can get done on a wall to really up your backhand. So that's what we're going to cover today. My name is Nicole Havlicek. This is Primetime Pickleball. Let's get into it. Missing one of our videos is like missing an easy put-away. Don't let that be you. Subscribe now. So all the shots that we're going to cover today are one-handed. That is still predominantly what people are using in the game today, is one-handed backhands on most of the variety of shots available in pickleball on the backhand side. We're going to start with the backhand drive. For the backhand drive, the best grip to use for that is the Eastern backhand grip. The way you'll find that is that you're going to hold your paddle so the edges are facing up and down, and you want the knuckle of your index finger to basically be on the very top, so in line with the edge. Here are two views that show you how to locate that grip. And the reason that this grip is ideal for this shot is that when you turn to initiate the stroke, as you can see here, my paddle face is pointed away from me. In this paddle face turned out position, I have the edges up and down comfortably so I can drop on edge into the swing and even close it out a little bit as I come into contact. Therefore, I can easily drive straight through it and flatten it out. Or I can tip that paddle face down a little bit further, have the edge tip down, and then come up and generate topspin that way as well. So it's a real versatile grip that I can either drive through or hit topspin with, and that's ideal for variety options on the backhand side. One of the keys to having a strong and consistent backhand is to have a strong and consistent contact point. So whenever you're contacting that ball, you want it to be at about the same distance and angle and everything from your body. So you want your arm position to be look relatively the same from shot to shot. And the way you achieve this is with proper footwork and creating good spacing. Now, it would be fantastic if we could be well balanced and hit every shot loaded. If you're a right-hander, loaded on your left leg and stepping in and transferring your weight onto your right leg and then finishing your swing beautifully every time. The challenge with that is that pickleball is a dynamic game and the ball's always moving, and you're not going to get there exactly right on time every time in order to achieve that perfect plant and step in, directly through the ball, looking the same straight forward every time. You're going to have some dynamic footwork patterns. So I'm going to show you a few here. So here's the ideal: every time stepping in straight ahead. As you can see, my plant foot after I'm done with the shot doesn't really move. It's pretty stable. I'm well balanced throughout the whole shot. There are many shots, though, which you're not going to get to quite perfectly on time to allow you to step in fully balanced like that. You're going to be still in motion, either somewhat to the left or to the right as you hit the shot. But there's a way to stay dynamically balanced so that by the time I'm done with the shot, I'm still balanced. And as I was hitting the shot, I was in motion, but in a very balanced way. So I'm dynamically stable and balanced rather than just statically stable. So that's okay, because that's going to happen many times. You just have to know what these footwork patterns are and be able to use them. We just saw an example where I was moving towards my right while hitting the shot. We're about to see one here where I'm moving towards my left and hitting the shot. So as you can see here again, I don't get my plant foot, in this case my back foot, which is my left on my backhand side because I am a righty. I don't get it all the way behind the ball. As you can see, I have to plant it short of getting it behind the ball. And then as I hit, I step across my body with my right foot and really use a dynamic stance here. So as you can see, I plant, I hit, and then I catch myself with my right leg, as opposed to planting, stepping in, and then hitting kind of in unison with that, or immediately after the step in with my right leg, which is kind of what you'd like to see in an ideal world if you were able to get perfectly set up and balanced in a more statically balanced fashion each and every time, which as I've said is virtually impossible, and you will constantly see high-level players using these more dynamic footwork patterns as they're playing, just because it's really not possible in today's high-paced, fast game that continues to get faster and faster to get so perfectly set up each and every time. So you're going to want to use these dynamic movements, and you can also work those on the wall as the ball, you move it around from left to right and back again. When you implement the tips we're sharing in today's video, we're confident it will help your game. As helpful as these tips are, they're only part of the story when it comes to playing winning doubles pickleball. If you want to learn all the strategies you'll need to dominate the doubles court, then you'll want to check out our complete doubles system, so you have a clear A to Z plan to follow. Because when you have a clear and proven plan, you can confidently and systematically win more points in games and have more fun on the court. Go to doublesystem.com today to learn all about it. All right, let's get back to today's video. The next shot that we're going to work on against the wall on the backhand side is the backhand slice. Now, before I move on to covering the differences between the backhand drive, whether that be more of a flat or topspin drive versus the slice, I'm going to cover some of the similarities between them, and these are non-negotiable. You must do this on all of your backhands if you ever hope to have a really strong, reliable backhand that you love. Okay, number one is a really big shoulder turn. As you can see, I'm really well turned here to the point where my right shoulder is even a bit more left of my left shoulder, so I'm very well rotated. I have my paddle set here high because I'm going to drop into the swing. On the backhand slice, it's a little bit more open. I'm going to get the contact in front on both, okay? On the backhand slice, it's a little bit further back, but it's still very well in front of me for a really strong and stable contact. And lastly, you still need really good footwork on the backhand slice. You can use the same footwork patterns I discussed if you need to get yourself dynamically balanced, whether that be you're moving to the right or to the left or even back and front. You still need to use your legs well, and you're going to use very similar footwork patterns on both. So just a quick recap. Number one, big shoulder turn on both. Number two, contact in front of you on both. Number three, really good footwork, get good spacing between you and the ball, and use your dynamic footwork patterns as needed. Now we're going to cover differences between the backhand drive and the backhand slice. We already touched on a few, but we're going to dive deeper into them now. The first thing I want to talk about is the grip. On the backhand drive, we use the Eastern backhand grip, and on the backhand slice, we're going to be using the Continental grip. So how you find the Continental grip is, again, if you're holding your edges up and down, you're going to now place your index knuckle on the 45-degree portion of the grip that's between the top, which is the edge side, and the paddle face side, which is the right. So you're going to put your index knuckle right in the middle of that on that 45-degree angle of the grip. Here is a side-by-side of two views of the Continental grip so that you can get a better sense of it. Now let's take a look at some of the differences on the stroke. So here I'm turned, and on the right I'm ready to hit a slice, and on the left a backhand drive. As you can see on the right, my paddle face is slightly more open as I drop into the shot. Here we're entering contact, and as you can see on the backhand drive, I have the pedal head dropped a bit lower so that I'm going to come through the shot. On the backhand drive, the energy of the shot, I'm going directly through the ball, and on the slice, I'm more cutting it. So if you think about an orange, on the backhand drive, if the ball is an orange and I'm hitting through it, I'm going to really smash it true and through, and like the orange is going to explode. Whereas on the slice, I'm really like trying to strip that peel off the orange. So I find that that's a pretty good visual to think about when you're trying to hit a slice versus a drive. On the slice, you're not hitting true and through the shot, you're more shaving the peel off the orange. Next, we're going to scoot up closer to the wall and simulate being right up there against a non-volley zone line, and we're going to work on our backhand dink. You really want to get your backhand dink to a place where you can hit 100 plus against the wall, no problem, and you could even just keep going beyond that. Like, you just have to catch the ball and stop because it's that good. That's a really solid dink if you can get it to that place. Basically, you also want to make sure that your feet are up against the line and that you're in a more open stance, because that's how you're going to be when you're up there at the non-volley zone line dinking. You want to have very small, efficient movements, so practically no backswing. As you can see, I set the paddle down here right next to my body. It doesn't really go behind me. Keep in mind you're going to have a continental grip on this as well, just like the backhand slice, and you're going to just be nudging and tapping that ball over the net. Very efficient. You can even play with a little bit of slice, a little bit of topspin if you wish to get working on those different spins in your dinking. Next, we're going to move on to the driving backhand volley, and we're going to do this out of the continental grip as well that we've shown previously. As you can see here, it's a very efficient stroke. I'm not a whole lot of leg movement on this because there's really just no time. This is the drill that I recommend that you use if you really want to improve your hand speed and get really good at those times when you're attacking and then being counterattacked and you get into a shootout. So you want to really be trying to do this and up your pace as you go along. Not necessarily in the same session, but over time, over a few days and weeks of doing this, this will really help you get better at quick exchanges, and you can come out ahead on those because your hands will get much faster. The technique on this, very small and efficient. As you can see, the paddle again doesn't go behind me at all, even less so than on dinking, and I just push out forward and I reset very quickly. No time for anything else really. I mean, you have to be extremely efficient on this shot, and this is really going to help you dramatically improve your hand speed and your quickness. One additional thing that I did want to point out here as compared to when you're dinking is that you're going to have a bit of a firmer grip here because you do need some more rebound off the paddle, and when you firm up your grip, that's when you do get more of a bounce off the paddle. So your dinking grip will be on the softer side, and for this you're going to have a bit of a firmer grip, but you still don't want to be death gripping it as tight as you can. You just want to have a nice firm grip that's going to provide you some rebound, because this is not a soft shot. You're hitting it at the same pace as it came to you or harder. Next and last, but certainly not least, is the backhand reset. Now, I want to point out that some of you may be at the stage where you want to work on this one a lot, possibly to the exclusion of everything else, because the reset is one of the things you want to be working on the most if you're striving to jump into that 4.0 plus level. If any of the other shots that I've already covered up until now you're struggling with, then definitely work on those first and get those all nice and locked in as best you can, and then work on this one as well. But once those other four are pretty well dialed, you're going to want to work a lot on your resets. In fact, you want to spend the most amount of time on your resets, because that is the shot that separates really the best from the rest. The ability to defend and get yourself out of a jam and back into the point. So basically, like, you're stealing points from your opponents because they can't close it out. That's where you really are a force to be reckoned with when you have that skill. Okay, so I want to point out that this is like a two-shot sequence, but the first shot is really more of a feed, so by no means look at this as like a strategic shot that I'm hitting here. You're really just nailing it off the wall, ripping it off the wall to try to set up a reasonable reset shot for yourself. Now, first, you can start off by not hitting it so hard, and as you get better, you can really whack it and hit it harder and harder and make those resets tougher and tougher. And you want that reset to just clear the net by not a whole lot, so that it drops towards their feet, because if this reset pops up, you're going to get nailed on the very next shot. So really try to keep those resets nice and low, not too much movement on the paddle face. You just kind of stick it out there and block. You might push it a little bit if your feet off the wall wasn't very hard, but if you ripped it off the wall, then you just kind of hold your paddle there and don't move it a whole lot. It's all about grip, pressure, and paddle face angle from that point, and this is how you're really going to train yourself to feel what needs to be done depending on what shot is coming to you. And that's something that you have to just figure out the feel of it to get really good at it. I could certainly tell you the tips as I am doing here, but it really comes down to developing the feel of what I'm talking about. As I mentioned, it comes down to grip, pressure, and paddle face angle. So if you popped it up too high, chances are your paddle face is too open. So next time you have to close it out on a similar ball. And if the ball didn't go anywhere, and then your grip pressure has to be a little firmer so you get a little bit more rebound, or if it went too far, then your grip pressure was probably too tight and maybe you pushed it when you shouldn't have, and you should have just held your paddle there more stable instead. But really no amount of watching YouTube videos and hearing these tips can substitute the fact that you have to get out there and feel it for yourself and hit and adjust and hit and adjust depending on what came and what happened, and that's how you're going to get really good at this. And in fact, any shot is get out there, hit it, read what happened, and adjust on the next one. And that is a very good concept to apply to all the drills that we've discussed here. So these are 5 great yet simple backhand drills that you can do that's really going to elevate your backhand to that next level, and very soon your backhand just won't be a weakness anymore. Just like I turned around one day and mine wasn't anymore either, and all of a sudden people can't go there and they're going to have to find something else to do to you, and that's going to become a tall order when you have a strong backhand and a strong forehand. Now you're really going to do some damage, and you're really going to be a presence on the court that people will want to play with, and you're going to have great games and a whole lot of fun, and you're going to start to play at a high level and progress to the top courts as your weaknesses shrink and you turn them into stable shots and maybe even weapons. And as your weapons improve, I mean, it's just going to be so much fun, and you're going to have a blast out there doing some real damage out on the courts. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, like, comment, and share. For more pro player pickleball